We are live. We are live. So how's everything all going? All good?
Everything's going good, mate. Just like you're saying, hard work, grafting,
Yeah, yeah.
kids,
That's it, mate. That's
lifestyle.
it.
That's it, mate. Yeah,
That's life, isn't it? That's what life's all about. So,
yeah, yeah,
so yeah.
yeah.
So I'll start these interviews off. So tell us about where you grew up and how things were for you as a kid.
Well, do you know what? I grew up. So obviously, I come from like so. Obviously, my mum comes from a strong travelling family. My dad's comes from Scotland, from a strong travelling family, and I wasn't raised. I've got a lot of. I come from a big travelling family, but I wasn't raised on the sites as such. I was
Mm.
raised in and around my family, so my family like settled people. But I was raised in Manchester.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of my younger days back and forth from Glasgow. My
Okay.
side, South Manchester, predominantly was from like North Manchester.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much along the lines of growing up, man. But like growing up, mate, we didn't have it easy growing up. You know what I mean? And
No.
I got to
No.
a stage to say I was about 7 years old, and my mum and dad split up. And then
Okay.
obviously I went off the rails after that,
Yeah.
And then I got to like when I was 13, mate. I was in Warrington House Young Offenders Institute for 4 months at the age of 13. Do you know what I mean? So
Okay.
and then my life kind of for me then I've lost. After my mum and dad split up, I got to that you lose your guidance, and I had no guidance because I didn't have older brothers.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
obviously my dad's got other kids, but in my household, I was the oldest out of our siblings. So for me, it was a case of I'm off the rails now. Like any young kid growing up in Manchester,
Yeah.
a lot of broken families where I grew up. So you're just
Yeah.
growing up,
Cool.
you're in the thick of it. Then I got out. I think it was about 13. I was in Warrington House. I was in there 4 months, and I got out and I had to go to a naughty boys school called Needle.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like where you go if you're naughty in class and the school can't handle you kind of thing. And I was that kind of kid where you turn up to school where you weren't bothered about reading
Mm.
and writing, but you don't wear your tie and
Yeah.
your collars at all. Like Grange Hill, you can imagine, can't you? Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like I said, don't be wrong. And then I wouldn't change a day of it, to be fair. But my mum tried her hardest, and which she had to. So my dad, when my mum and dad split up, my dad was gone then for a good while. And for me, it was like not just for me, but my household. It was like unfair because he's totally gone. He's pissed. He's drinking, and bottom line is he lives down the road. But when the split is kind of, it's the impact it had. And then I went off the rails me for a long time,
Mm.
and then I started. So I went to this naughty boys school. I started going to the youth club, and I used to knock about with a kid called Denton Vassell when I was younger.
Mm.
A lad called Anthony
Yeah.
Colley. So they was from my neck of the woods, and
Mm.
obviously they'd just started boxing. Anthony Croll had been in the game from about 9. He was a top amateur.
Okay.
So I went down to the Fox ABC in Ancoats. I was there for a couple of weeks.
Mm.
And then my uncle, my mum's brother, he took me down to the Champs Camp and introduced me to a guy called Ensley Bingham, Manchester Champs Camp. So that's when I started getting into like a bit of the boxing days and through the amateurs and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
obviously I'd like,
Did
I was
you have
quite...
many amateur fights then? Did you?
Yeah, I had a few amateurs, but for me, I was more going because if I didn't go to the boxing club, I weren't allowed out because I was always getting into trouble. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got like, I'm not proud of things I've done, but like when I was younger, it was a case of, like for example, with all like fireworks and throwing at people's doors, like when you're kids, you do
Mm.
stupid stuff. I'd be the one that got
Yeah.
caught. We jumped
Yeah.
across we jumped across the roof on the nursing home. I got caught. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
my mum didn't go easy on me because when my dad left, she had to be strict. You know what I mean? You can imagine. We got some
Yeah.
good hidings. Me and my brother got some good hidings. So I was never, and that was really my life then. And then I got older, and then I moved from North Manchester. I moved to South Manchester. I met my daughter's mum. And like
Yeah.
that was like your first love. She's still one of my best mates to this day, believe it or not. We got on really well. And
It's nice.
yeah, so then I ended up moving to South Manchester. I'm only like 18 at this point. But when you're
Mm.
18, Jack, you're 18, you think you know it all.
Oh
Do you
yeah,
know
you
what I
do. Yeah,
mean?
definitely.
You think you know it all. And I went down there, and my oldest daughter was born. So obviously I was up and down. I've got in touch with my dad now, but I started working with my dad. My dad was a roofer and a scaffolder. So I'm working
Mm.
alongside my dad, and I respected him, but I had a lot of resentment there. If you
Cool.
know what I
She's
mean,
pretty
I
broken
can't.
home, innit?
Yeah, and then I used to see the way that my sisters and my brother and that would still be around my dad. And from my eyes, you left me. You left me at the time when I needed him, and I had that resentment for years. So then what I done then, I detached myself away from my siblings in a sense. You know what I mean? I fell out with a lot of them through my own stubbornness. You know what I mean? And I was gone for about 7 years, and I'd never get them years. Obviously, I'm close with my family, but I'd never get them years back, if you know what I mean, because the resentment was there. So what I tended to find now is, because I was always a young kid and I was a game kid, you know, not saying like I'm a bad boy or like that, but I was a game kid when I was out here. And what I tended to find is a lot of people prey on your vulnerabilities, and because you're a game kid, if you know what I mean. But bottom line, you think you're your friends, and your older cousins, but in theory, they're just using you because you're at a vulnerable state, but you don't see it. And then I got to a year after that, and then I had to bury my younger brother. My younger brother passed away.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, he was only it's all right, mate. He was only 2 years of age, but then that had a big impact on me. Then, you know, because then when I wanted to go back in my family household to try and make things right for being a little shit, my mum went through a very hard time. Then she resented me. Then so I've resented them. Then she's resented me. Do you know what I mean? So I went through a lot. Then I started training back with Ensley Bingham, and he said, "Look, Dean, you know," he said, "you was a fit. You know, I wasn't saying I was the best, but I was young and I was fit. I was in good nick, and we put a lot of work in with me, Ensley. He become like a father figure, but he didn't put the work in me in the boxing gym for me to be a boxer. He just know me from a young boy, and he seen what I was going through, and then he put a lot of work in with me, and you know, we went up to the Ingles. I got a boxing license, and then I ended up going to prison, and that was my life after that. For about 6-7 years, I was in and out of jail and doing 4 years, 2 years, and you know, and it took the best years out of me in terms of everything, really. You know, and that's why I always had a lot of respect for my oldest daughter's mum, because no matter what, she always stuck by me. You know, she moved on, she got married, she had kids, but she always stuck by me because I was always a good dad to my daughter. And do you know what I mean? And then I got out, and then I got into the stage of, I met a lad in jail called Andy Webb. A lot of people in Liverpool will know him. And I was in Kirkham finishing off my last sentence I was on. And I got chatting with Andy, and I was training with him in jail. And I said, "What do you do?" Because he could hold, like, in jail, you have you use your flip flops as your pads in jail.
Pads,
yeah. And he was holding the pads and that, and I said, "What do you do?" And that, he said, "No, he's K1." He said, "A fight." I said, "What?" I said, "Thai or boxing." He said, "No, K1." But you see, back then days, going back like 2009, 2010, K1 was some. I mean, I used to watch Iron Man Zedis and Remy Bemanowski and all the K1 guys. There weren't much of K1 about. Like, it's all over the UK now. These gyms where you can go MMA K1.
Yeah, it's big sport now, isn't it? Yeah, it's big sport.
Big sport. There was a lot of Thai boxing back then. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the Thai stuff. But what you'd find is you'd go and fight on a Thai show, but you're fighting K1 on a Thai show because that's how it was.
Yeah.
So I started going over. So I got out of jail and I become good friends with Andy Webber. He was a bit older than me. He was probably about 5'7", but as hard as he come, you know, you've met him, you'll just see small guys that can fucking handle himself. You know what I mean? As hard as he get, he was. And I started training with him over at the K1 gym in Liverpool, and you know, it was called Team Master Gym. Two guys called Gary and Byrne, two brothers, and I think they had a sister down there as well. And I tell you what, it was one of the best. Coming from the Champs Camp, which was a good boxing gym to train at, it was one of the best gyms I trained in. And you do the atmosphere was great. But I'll tell you what, though, you know, I watched your video before when you were saying about, you know, you have to go hard on sparring, and I totally agree. And when I went in that K1 gym there, mate, I swear there was no hold barred. You know, you're in at the deep end. You can be this big, you know what I mean? And it was full on.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like you said, you go into a fight, and you ain't prepared to fight hard, then you're just going to get took apart, aren't you?
I totally agree, and that's the mistakes I made when I come out last year. I didn't do half the stuff I should have done. I was just fucking being an arse, really. But like I've always said, and that's why I never would have been a boxer, because the dedication wasn't there. And then in terms of the actual K1 stuff, when I was going down in the K1 gym, because I'm getting fucking hit hard and like from Manchester, it was more pride that kept me in there. Do you know what I mean? And I had a couple of scraps there, but that was pretty much really it for me in terms of, you know, coming from like a strong family where my dad had a lot of pride, my brothers, my cousins, my uncles, the proud people, and they'll all come out and have a tear up, you know. But in the reality is, you know, I've had my highs and lows in my life, and I don't have no faults for that, and a lot of it's been self-inflicted. Like, you know, I've got a past like everyone else growing up in Manchester. You know, done things that I'm not proud of. I've been in prison. And then I realised I got to a stage like it was well noted. I was on YouTube last year, and and I'm going, but mentally I wasn't there. I'd gone through a couple of years before, and the way I approached it.
Yeah. Oh, lost him. Where's he gone? Still there, Dane? No. Oh, where's it gone? Dane, can you hear me? Oh, what? Just reading a couple of these comments while Dane's. I'll just send Dane another link again. 2 seconds. I think his battery might have died. I wouldn't be surprised. He's been stuck in traffic or something. He said to most of the day. So I've just sent him another link anyway to see if he comes back in or not. If not, then obviously I'll have to get back hold of him and maybe sort this out again for another day. But yeah, just have to wait and see what happens. I know he just pulled over. He was in traffic. He's been stuck in traffic for the past 2 hours or so. So his phone may well have died. Oh, here we go. He's back. Here we go. That's all right. What happened there?
Cut off then, Jack. He just sold the cut off. But yeah, there was. Sorry about that. I just cut off. But yeah, as I was saying, I got to the. I've had my highs and my lows and my ups and downs like everyone else. But I think that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much just an outline of my life without going into details of into depth about everything. But yeah, and that's kind of pretty much if there's anything you want to ask me, or I've just kind of.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See, well, like you said, that's what makes you the man you are today. Those kind of things that go on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, look, the hardest thing for me, to be fair, and sometimes my behaviour, because you got to remember as well, I suffer with ADHD. I've had ADHD from being a kid, and that played a big part of me. That played a big part of me. When I was younger, I was wild, and
yeah.
I can give you stories like my mum would go to the markets years ago in Manchester. She'd go shopping, and that's when she'd have all these mattresses stacked up, and then she'd be walking back from the market. They'd all be on fire. She knew it was me. But do you know what I mean? But that's, I think, like you're saying, but I've never got over one thing I don't deal with too good, to be honest, mate. And I can deal with confrontation head on. I can deal with a lot, but when it's death, like a death in the family, someone close to me, I always, they're things I can't handle. And when my little brother passed away, mate, I've still not over it to this day. I mean, I've only been to his grave 2 times since I buried him, and I buried him over 20 years ago. I just don't deal with them things. And, I had an uncle that was murdered, and, I just don't deal with death. It's one thing that gets me. That's when when I say I hit my dark times, it's when anniversaries come up, or, do you know what I mean? And it's just, people deal with things differently. But, I always say I'll always respect my mum. I'll always respect my mum and my dad. But I'll have the utmost respect for my mother because of what she had to put with me. But not only that, she made sure we had the best of everything. So for what beats the eye is that when on going out there, everyone thought we were spoiled, but they didn't understand that the struggle my mum was going through to raise all of us on her own. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I said, I always, I'll have utmost respect for my mother. Whatever. Sometimes I might see my mum every day. Sometimes I might see her once a month, once every 6 months. But and like and I have that utmost respect for my granddad, my mum's dad, and all my family because they made sure what we lacked on one side, they made sure we got it back on the other. If you know what I mean. And you don't understand them things till they're older, and you know what I mean. It's just like you're saying, that's the makeup. That's the things what. They're the things what make you the man you are today. Do you know what I mean? And when you've been through, I mean, like life battles. Surely yourself's been through battles. We all have. But when you've been through battles in life where you can't be hurt no more than you've ever been hurt, a bit of
Yeah.
confrontation or going out for the scrap on the cobbles, it doesn't really phase you, does it? Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't. You know, the
It's
thing with fighting is as well, it's like, you see, with actually having a fight, see, the fight itself, I love. I can't think of a better thing when you actually
yeah,
fight. But see, I hate the arguing. I hate the build up to it, the not knowing if, oh, should I hit this geezer? Or, like, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I
yeah,
love the fact of knowing that, like, me and you are going to fight. Let's fight, get it done with. I hate all that back and forth arguing, who can shout louder, and like, fuck all that. Like, if you're going to fight, have a fight. Do you know what I mean? There's no need to talk at that point. But
And do you know what? It might sound rich coming from me, but I give it all that last year with Decker, and that isn't normally how I would approach a situation like
no,
that. But like you're saying, I was going through a lot myself mentally, which is it's no fault of anyone else's. But you've got to learn to control that. But what, like you're saying, it's not the loudest man in the room. You have to watch, and I know,
oh
I know
shit.
what you mean, because normally when we were younger and you got matched up for fights when you was boxing the amateurs or going for a K1 fight, it wasn't really a build up because you just get right. You're fighting on that date. You're in the gym training. You're having a laugh. You have a
Yeah,
laugh
yeah,
with the
true.
lads. A couple of days before you get in the gym, you check your weight. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And then the day of the fight, there's 4 or 5 cars outside your house picking you up, and you drive to the location. You'll get on the scales and you'd have a scrap. And what I
yeah. That's
kind of
that's it.
I mean, I
That's
think that's the proper way of doing it. And when I look now, Jack, and I look around it, and I'm building this BKB like contender platform, like reality show type thing. And,
mm,
we're putting a lot into it. And but when I'm actually looking around it now, I'm thinking the fight game with all the call outs and the way it's being handled, it's an actual joke because in the old days, like you're saying, you just train, no back and forth. You turn up and you know what I mean.
yeah.
I
See,
think that's how.
I think a lot of that is down to YouTube, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
the whole reason why I came onto YouTube and called Decker out on YouTube was because I won't say who it was, but I spoke to someone privately and said, look, I fancy calling Decker out. And he went, look, he said, if you want to call him out and you want to actually fight him, he said, you're probably best off calling him out publicly. He said, because if you message him privately, the chances are you're going to get ignored and he ain't going to get back to you.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what gave me the idea of putting a video out. But
But it was
and then that's
respectful,
what,
though, wasn't it? To be fair, wasn't it? The video that you
yeah.
put out, it was a respectful one.
Well, that's how I am. That's how I am.
Yeah,
I'm like that anyway. But then, I mean, when you listen to the comments and that people say, people could be fucking horrible. Do you know what I mean? Some people ain't got their own lives. They just sit there and try and put other people down. And I think it's those kind of things that gets you in such a rage. You just end up putting up a video, fucking venting your anger, and you think, oh fuck, why have I just
but
done that? You know what I mean?
do you know what? That's 100% true. Because when I was going at Decker last year, it was the comments that was winding me up more with people against me and stuff like that. And I sat back and had to find myself, over the
Mm,
past like back end of the year, a month, and I was looking at all the videos properly in the comments and thought, this isn't me.
yeah,
I'm thick skinned, but this isn't. It's genuinely, But I was rising to the comments because mentally I'm going off my head, and I've got that much rage inside me. And I looked and I thought, you know what? But this isn't Dean. When people want to get to know me, I am a genuine guy. I
yeah,
have got a past like everyone else, but I'm no different from anyone else. I've got friends that have got a lot of money. I've got friends that have got no money. I've got friends that work, friends that don't work. I'm
yeah,
always
yeah,
me. Do you know? That's just the way I am. And before you knew it, I was end up getting approached and call outs and this and that. And I'm thinking, if you was in front of me, if you was this, and I'm rising to it, and I thought, you know what, this isn't
mm,
this isn't me. And from the way I was raised and from what I've been through,
yeah,
I don't really have to rise to what's coming at me because it's not a threat to me. It's not, even what people might see stuff recently and stuff like that, and it's, and I'm not going to go into
yeah,
detail, but it's not a threat to me. I've been through the hardest. I mean, when you've buried a little brother at a young age and you've seen what your family's gone through, and
yeah,
like I said, a lot of people's been through it, but for me, I deal with death differently. But when it was my brother, I've never been hurt so much. I mean, I went to see my
oh,
brother's grave about 2 years just after the lockdown year. It was his birthday.
yeah,
My sister to get me there, she pulled a fast one. She went, Dean, I can't get there in the traffic. Will you drive me because I'm going to go after work because it's CJ's birthday? I said, right, yeah, I'll take you on her. So I remember I've not been there for years. So when we buried him, there weren't as many graves there. So we're driving through the cemetery and I got out of the car with her there, mate, and I just broke down. You know what I mean? Broke
yeah,
down.
oh,
And when you've been hurt that much in the past, a bit of confrontation, no matter where it comes from. And I think for me, getting into boxing younger growing up, it was that way out to fight that anger. Do you know what I mean? And You know, and I used to,
Yeah.
I never listen. Even when I was sparring under Ensley, I'd never listen because I'd be angry. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
but then, I think that, you know, when regardless of what, and that's why I've always had that attitude: win, lose or draw, I'll still go out the door because there's nothing that's going to hurt me as much as what I've been hurting with in the past. You know what I mean? And in terms of my father left my mum, he didn't give me no
Yeah.
hurt. He gave me anger then because you're young.
Mm.
Everyone's been there. You know, there's a lot of single families our age got where I come from, and you're out there, and before you know it, you're out on the streets, and my dad's in the pub drinking. You'd walk past the pub, and you resenting your dad. You got your mum at home working 3-4 jobs just to make sure there's Christmas presents under the Christmas tree. So for me, I got to an age 13. I was out committing crime. You know, I'm out robbing and stuff like that. And what I basically done, we got on a bus up to a place called Shaw in Oldham, no Greenfields in Oldham years ago from school. Me and 4 of my schoolmates. We had a 2-2 air rifle. You know, the push down, you put the pellet in.
Pop down ones, yeah.
Yeah, we was wagging school in our uniforms. We used to wear green jumpers. And I had an Ellie Hansen jacket on. It was half sit down. We ran him with our hoods up to do an armed robbery. Believe it, honest, it's crazy, isn't it, with kids? 4 of us.
Yeah.
And the guys come out with a stick. He started giving it us there. So we've ran out. We've jumped on the bus. And we jumped on this bus heading back towards Manchester because Oldham's like on the outskirts. And as we jumped on the bus, the police have come on the bus, fucking hands in the air. We're kids because obviously we got told we got a gun. It was an air rifle. Fucking 4 months we got for it. I was 13 years of age, but it's because we used to watch, and that wasn't because of the way we was raised or nothing. We used to watch films as a kid. You know, we'd go out and watch fucking cowboy films and fucking all sorts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was a bad spell for me. But when I look back now, I mean, I laugh now, but if you think of it, if that was my mum or someone, you know, working in a shop and 4 guys come with a pellet gun, it can be terrifying. We were kids back then, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, but like you're saying, I had no guidance because I got to the stage where my mum in the end, she gave up on me because she couldn't control me.
Yeah.
You know, she let me off. I mean, she used to lock me in the bedroom and take the lock off the door. I'd go sleep with my toothbrush. I'd brush my teeth, put it in my, stash it in my pajamas. She'd lock the door, and then she'd have to go out there. She'd go out working, cleaning and all that. So the babysitter would be sat downstairs, and the next minute I'd pop the door open with a toothbrush because she's took the lock off, so I couldn't go out, and then sneak out the house. You know what I mean? And I mean, good memories and that. But that's kind of, like I say, it's the makeup what makes you are the man now, and that's why I make sure my kids don't struggle. You know, I try the best for them, and you know, my oldest daughter now is 19. She's in Turkey at the moment, but I mean, you know, I know, like me, you know, for people in my family say, oh, you need to let her fend for herself a little bit. She will do, but it's my baby, you know. And I realise, you know, I know what my mum went through for us not to struggle, but for me, it just wasn't enough. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I say, you know, I don't want. Lucky I didn't have boys. I've got girls. I've got 2 girls, 2 beautiful girls, and for me, I think, you know, I don't want them to be going out and doing stuff that they feel like they have to do just to get nice things. So, you know, and that's why I do, you know, I do work hard, Jack, at things I'm doing. You know, I put 110% effort in it because it's not like me saying I'm doing it for me, but I do it to make sure my kids and, you know, have the best of it. And because I've got 2 daughters, you know, it could be another 5-6 years. I could be a granddad. You know what I mean? So
that's the thing, mate. Like you said, like, after everything you've gone through as well. After everything you've gone through as well, there's that saying, in it, tough times don't last, tough people do, and it shows that obviously people. Like, I mean, my dad, mate. The stories that my dad's got, the shit that he went through as a youngster. I mean, like, and I mean shit and all, bro. Like stuff you wouldn't even want to hear. His dad used to abuse him physically, sexually. Him and his brothers and sisters. He used to beat up his own mum all the time. Like, he used to watch his mum get beat up all the time, and then when you grow up seeing that kind of stuff, all it does is just bring out a horrible person. It just can't be helped. When you're raised in those kind of things, it just brings out a horribleness in people. Do you know what I mean? But
it does 100%. And this is why I was going back to, like, the, you know, when I was looking at the YouTube, a lot of the YouTube stuff I was watching over like a period of time, and I was thinking, you know, when you look at like certain things and the way certain situations are handled, and I'm thinking, you know, I was looking at myself thinking, this isn't the way I behave, and you know, and like you're saying, you know, a lot of people, because, well, you know, we come from an era where it was a lot of like single parents, and like when I sat down and spoke to my dad's excuse was the stuff he went through with his dad, what his dad put him through, you know, the physical beatings for getting caught, you know, getting caught and getting fined like 50 shillings and what was it, 10 bob or whatever it was back then for
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know, a bit of stealing or something,
yeah,
and then obviously the beatings that they'd get and stuff like that, and so, and you know, we've got to, as where I'm at now, I wanted to break that cycle, if you know what I mean, and I thought, you know, that's not, you know, and like I said, man, you know, it's God forbid. I've always said, like, if I didn't break the cycle, you know, I was it, because I made sure that when I wasn't with my kid's mum, I wasn't an absent father, apart from my times in prison, which, you know, and that's why I make up for my kids utmost now. And do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
definitely.
and like I said, it's not, you know, and the times I've spent in and out of prison and stuff, I'm not proud of any of it. Do you know what I mean? And
No, of course
you
not.
know,
No.
I'm not, you know, I'm not you. You know, I'm not proud of anything like that. But it's an environment that I grew up in. For me, I've learned off that. I've learned off their mistakes. You know what I mean? Which is a good thing. And
Yeah,
then,
100%.
and I think what you got to do is to become that better person. You've got to break that cycle. If anything around you is negative, you have to cut it off. Do you know what I mean? And
Of
you
course,
got to
yeah,
look at it like this. You're only gonna, what I put out, I'm gonna get back. It's, you know, if I talk to you like an arsehole, you're gonna talk to me like one. Do you know what I mean? It's,
yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly that. And that's mad as well, because you think there was a point last, when was it? Yeah, last year, that there was a few things going around where people was trying to get me and you to have a fight as well, weren't they?
Do you know what, Jack? I didn't even see it till this year. Someone actually sent
Mm.
it for me, and I looked and I thought, I'm not fighting him, mate. He's a fucking unit. Sorry, sorry.
Well, this is the
I
thing,
remember.
because
I mean, I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't. But you know, with me, I wouldn't have been called you out like that, and you're way out of my
no,
depth. You know, I'm not. But I think that it's just. I think
oh, he's gone again. Oh no, has he come back?
that that
I think his signal's gone again, Dane. Oh, yeah, he's gone again. Fucking hell. Hang fire, guys. Here, come back on. Don't worry. Let's give it a couple of seconds, guys. He'll be back on. Oh. Don't worry, guys. I'm gonna get to the point talking about his contender series. We will talk about that. It's on my list to talk about. Don't worry. Thank you for everyone that is tuning in. Make sure you all hit the like button. Right, let me try and send an invite to him back again. See if we can get back in. Have we got a date? Yeah, oh, here we go. He's coming back. He's back. Hang on. Is he coming back? What's happened there? Here we go. Here we go. He's back.
yeah, it just keeps going off, mate. I think it must be where I am. Like I said, I had to
Yeah,
pull up off the
signal.
motorway. But
That's
yeah,
all right. Yeah. So what's you saying?
I remember when you were saying about the call out last year. You know,
Mm.
someone said, and you know what? I think it was Fighting Talk UK sent it over, and I said, mate, I'm not going out to him.
Well, it was Fighting Talk UK that spoke to me, and he said, look, I know Dean personally. He said, and he's not said nothing about you. And I said, no, look, I said this in my video. I said, I'm not saying he has. I'm saying it's other people that are trying to manipulate shit and trying to make a fight between us. As I said, me and you ain't got a problem. We never even spoke to each other, so how we can have a problem with each other? Do you know what I mean?
But do you know what? Do you know what it was there? I'll be honest. Though I was looking forward for the fight with you and Decker because it was good. What I wanted to see, you know, and like I say, I'm not trying to make a fight or anything like that.
No,
but
no.
It was just because obviously the recent Decker I'd seen was myself had felt it, and Danny Christie. I wanted to see how he handles a modern day heavyweight in terms of, because obviously when he'd fought heavyweights, you're going back 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's that's what I wanted to see, was how Decker handles a modern day heavyweight, and naturally and stuff like that. Obviously the fight got pulled for like whatever reason. So, but that was pretty much it really. But I tell you what, YouTube can be an evil world, man, because bloody hell. Do you know what I mean?
But you know what? A few people have said that though. They're saying, like, I know, like, obviously the Decker situation, the ship's kind of sailed with it, but everyone said that they would have loved to have seen me and him fight. But listen, who knows? One day in the future, maybe. Can never write it off. But at the minute, like I said, I'm concentrating on my actual career with fighting and all the time, all that shit's going on. I'm not involved at all. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? I'm so glad I pulled myself. Like I said, the way I carried on last year, it wasn't. I can't blame the YouTube community or getting involved. I put myself in the middle of it, and it's the way I behaved. And like you're saying, what you put out, you're going to get back. Do you know what I mean? And, and like you're saying, in terms of me and Deck, I left the issue I had with him. I left it in the ring that day because, it got called a draw. But I openly say it wasn't a draw. I just didn't turn up the man I was, and I'm not using no excuses, because genuinely I'm not. I was me in shape. Naturally I lose weight. I don't gain weight. I can't hold weight if I'm, when I'm training. I'm not made to fight the big guys, but one thing I did ask for was just to fight him fit. It was just a fair crack at the whip. That was it. I just wanted to fight him fit, and I got a lot of stick from it. He'll chin you, he'll do that. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Who knows? But like you're saying, as a fighting man fit, you've got to give yourself that. And I always say this: a fighting man, win, lose or draw, you should always go out and test yourself. Do you know what I mean? And
the thing is as well, in this fight game, especially in bare knuckle, is that anyone can beat anyone on any given day, because it only takes one shot in bare knuckle. Do you know what I mean? That's all it takes. I mean, obviously there's others out there that can take more of an hiding than others, and this, that, and the other. But realistically, anyone can have anyone on any given day. And if you go into a bare knuckle fight and you get knocked out or you get put on your ass, and it's like, right, fight's over. It's like, it's part of the game, isn't it? It is what it is.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you've seen some of the best of the best get. So I get on well with Robin Reed. I've known Robin for a good few years. Like, the gym he used to train at when his pro career was pretty much at the end of the road, and we all used to watch him in his MR 2 years ago when we was kids, at Barrett and in his day. And I remember before the Decker fight, and Robin said, "Dean, look, I was training over at a gym where he trains. He trains like a lot of the young lads and that with Dale. Yeah. And they knew I was getting. Obviously, it's hard when you're working, Jack, to do a proper camp. Full. It's hard. And, timing kids and stuff like that. And because obviously I don't live with my kids. My kids phone me even now at a drop of a hat and make that time up, because they just phone me. They have random days. I could finish working and they phone me at 4. Dad pick me up and I'll do it. Do you know what I mean? And so gym time, you've got to dedicate yourself. And I was doing a bit on the pads and I'd done a little moving about with Robin, just having a laugh at you. And I remember Robin saying, Dean, he went bare knuckle. He said, going about a Decker, he said, but it only takes one shot, because he does BKB, he does the commentary. Yeah,
he's the commentator. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and he said, Dean, it only takes one punch. You know what I mean? And in that bare knuckle game, he said to me there, he went, I know you've not been training. He said, so you best hope that one punch is in your favour. And I laughed at him, giggling, but it was the way he said it, but it was true. It was true what he said. You know what I mean? And it was true. And like I said, I've got the BKB Contender that I'm, that I'm putting together. I'm putting up.
Well, that's the other thing I was going to get involved in as well, because loads of people in the comments are asking about it. So how did the idea of this Contender series come up?
Well, what I had the actual idea last year, and I spoke about it with Dougie last year, and obviously because we had a lot going on with the 3D, and it was just a lot of stuff outside what we had going on between us. It wasn't the right time. So then I put the idea. So Dougie started going his way. When I walked from 3D Fight Club, which after the first show, because I'm getting a backlash of fighters not being paid and all sorts. And I thought this is now I'm not having. It was too much. But it's what I had on. I had a lot of family issues on the outside. So I genuinely walked away from it. Then obviously I put myself back at the shows, doing the press conferences, helping out, and we're pulling them off, and I'm working on the shows and that, because I enjoy it. I mean, it's all right fighting and stuff like that, but I enjoy in the training room with the lads, while getting their hands wrapped, and you know what I mean. And I enjoy the banter with the lads. I love that, and it's the same as yourself, Jack. When you're not fighting, you enjoy the banter of being there, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so then obviously it comes to like the end of the year, and then I got deleted out of a WhatsApp group around about Christmas time, and I thought, well, I was told that I'm getting brought back into 3D Fight Club, that they're bringing me back in, and the team didn't like me. They was pulling their faces about it, and I thought, well, considering it was me and him that started the promotion, I'm not going to stress about it because I did walk from it. So if I want to get back in, it's my own fault because I walked from the promotion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So obviously I walked from it. Come to like January time, and I'm thinking, right, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I'm looking round, and my cousin's got a top gym, banging gym. Obviously he's FCC MMA champion. He's British, European. He was going to fight for a world title this year, but he trains himself. He's got a top setup there. I mean, Danny Christie's been down to the gym. Obviously, he's a cousin of mine, and Dougie goes there. The gym's phenomenal. So I sat with him, and I said, "Look, would you do a training camp? Would you do a training camp in here with some fighters? If I get like filming crew down and stuff like that." He said, "What are you thinking?" I said, "Well, like a contender type thing, but bare knuckle boxing." I said, "It's never been done." So my cousin said, "Look, you can use the gym, Dean." He said, "Just obviously, because the gym's massive. It's got like a boxing studio, MMA studio. It's huge. It's somebody. I'll be putting a vlog up in a few weeks, actually, Jack. Or going up online to see where the training and stuff." And he agreed to doing the training camp. And I spoke to another cousin of mine, Michael Sweeney, from Ireland. He flew over and he said, "I'll coach the two teams." That's why we had Teams K-Force and Team Sweeney, because they both was in for coaching. I thought, well, you know what? That's a big chunk of the project out the way. Now that's probably the hardest part I've achieved. So then I sat down with Doug's and just said, "Look, we're going to do this show and we're putting all the work together and stuff like that." And then I thought I'd come out on a video and I said, "Look, it's my show," but I didn't mean my show in terms of it's my show. It's just a figure of speech on a video.
Yeah.
And obviously I put the video out there, but it wasn't a malicious video. It was just a video explaining how the show was going to work and stuff like that. And then obviously Dougie come back with a video the next day saying, "I'm not to do with 3D Fight Club. He's not to do with Contender." And I was a bit like took back by it. Like, well, I thought we was doing this together. So I contacted him numerous times behind the scene. He blanked me, and then we had a few back and forth on a few voice notes. And I said, "I'll come and see." I said, I'll come and see him and we'll go through it all. But I never went to see him. I just thought, you know what, I'll go my own way. And then obviously I just started making stuff happen. But it's not been easy because I've had to put a new team in place. I've had to get a marketing team in place. Obviously, I've had to get another guy that does promoting and stuff like that. I've had to speak to another promotion in terms to host the main event. It's stuff that if we was working hand in hand, it would have been a lot easier. So, I mean, that's kind of how we got to the idea of the Contender and where we are now. And, we've pretty much, we've secured everything to execute on the 1st of August. And then people have been pulling faces about fighters and we've got this. And I said, but I didn't want the first show. What it is, I want people. I've had 1 or 2 fights. I've got a couple young lads I've got one lad from down south, a lad from Ipswich. I just wanted to give younger guys a bit of an opportunity. Like, they've had 1 fight. There's another guy called Shane Robinson from over in Bradford. He's only had 2-3 fights. I've got a lad from Plymouth who's fought in the pits, and we've got Stuart Anderson who's only had 1 fight. And for me, they were the fighters I wanted to get in there to give them a bit of a platform. These guys, it's, yourself, it's hard when you sat there and you're hanging on for a fight and you don't get them. Stuart Anderson's had about 4 fights pulled, and I thought, well, give these guys a bit of a platform, get them out there. They're doing a full training camp. Obviously, we've got a sponsor in place, protein sponsor. We've got a meal prep company who's sponsoring each individual fighter. We've got like the hot tubs. We've got a company sponsoring for the hot tub in like the garden and stuff like that. So, I mean, we had to reduce the budgets and stuff like that because these are big outlay. But we did get some good sponsors involved, and then we got a couple we got a construction company, car valeting company, but they come in as they give us a big push, a big boost really on the project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's kind of so. We're over the line to execute it, but it's just like, it's the teething problems. But we're not just open to do the one show. We've got like a 3-year plan. We want to do 1 a year.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Ultimate Fighter, isn't it? With the UFC, what they kind of did. I mean, if you look back at the first ever season of that, I mean, it's nothing like what it is now. But obviously, like you said, it's something you just have to build on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so and that's the thing. What I do is I want to get the first one out of the way. So the weight on the first show is, so the day of entry, you've got to be 70 to 80 kilos on the day of entering the show. So we're live, obviously, it's going to go live. So we'll all come in, they'll sign the contracts, they'll hit the scales, They've got to be in that weight limit. But on the day of on fight day, the way we've got it structured, they have to hit the day before the weigh-in. They've got to be between 70 and 75 kilos. That's the weight limit.
Well, okay, yeah.
So, like I'm saying, if they're coming at 76, 77, there's a sauna in the gym. You've got to do your job. You need to get your weight down because.
Oh, yeah, get the weight down. Yeah, it's what every fighter has to go through.
Yeah, exactly. And I want some of these now. What it is like, you've got some of these lads, and a lot of the lads and that they don't take. Some of them don't even take training camp serious. Whereas here, they've got no choice because they're living as a fighter, they're getting prepped as a fighter, they're being coached as a fighter, and they're going to duel off properly, with a proper camp behind them. So it's going to be interesting to see how. It'll be interesting to see, like for example, I've got a young lad there called Riley Stansby. I don't know if you know Paul Stansby, the podcaster from down Ipswich way.
No, I don't know.
You might have seen him. Riley's his nephew. He had one fight on the 3D Fight Club, and then he's in there. And he's only had one fight, but he's one to watch out. If he can, he can hit hard and he can box. But he's good. He's natural, if you know what I mean. And we've got him in there, and I reckon he's going to be one to watch out for. But he's coming up. He's only 69 kilos, so he'd be coming up to his heaviest is going to be about 72. So that's why I've said to him, lads, look, you've got to get down to 75, otherwise. If you don't make weight and you can't make weight, you have to leave the show. It's as simple as that. Because it's not only that, I've got fighters' safety to worry about. If you're coming at 76 kilos, 77, and you're getting a lad at 72 kilos, it's not fair. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's not. No, it's not. And like you said, if you want to you want to do it properly, then you've got to go by the rules and the weight limits and all those kind of things as well, wouldn't you? So
so we're going to run it for 6 weeks. So we go live on the 1st of August. So I'll give you a bit of a scale how it's going to work, Jack. So we go live on the 1st of August, so it's on for 6 weeks, and then the main event is going to be on week 8, because obviously what the 2 finalists will get to week 6, they're going to need time to recover if they're injured or anything like that, and obviously then 2 weeks after that, they're going to go onto a platform and fight for obviously it's a £10,000 cash prize. That's one of the sponsors we got involved in that. He's come in and we've got 10,000 cash, so they'll receive that live at the end of the show with the BKB Contender UK trophy, and then. Now, what we're going to be doing is we've got they're going to fight. So week 1 they'll come into the house. It'll just be training vlogs of them training. They're all bedding in. They're getting used to the coach. And then week 2, week 4, and week 6 are going to be where the fights are. So on week 2 you're going to have 5 fights because it's 10 fighters. We reduced it from 12 to 10, and then that'll leave 5 fighters to fight on week 4. And then we've got like a bit of a snag because it's an odd number to get to week 6 and then week 8 kind of thing. So your fights are going to be week 2. Week 4, week 6, and the final will be on week 8. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be good. But like I said, I've been getting positive feedback lately. I appreciate that, but I've seen a few of the fighters getting like negative comments on the videos, and I just want to say, give these lads a chance, because it's not easy to live in an house, live with someone who you're going to be fighting, train next to them, and then and then. Once they face off, they've got to go back to the house, live with each other. Then they're going to have to go out on the Sunday afternoon, live on YouTube with how many viewers, and go out and fight. And it's not easy. Do you know what I mean? You've got to respect them to a degree. And give these guys.
It's not a normal circumstance to be in, is it? It's. Do you know what I mean? So that itself's going to take. That's going to add pressure, if anything, to the fighters, because now, like you said, they're living together. They're constantly with each other, and fucking, what things can get like. You could it causes arguments and all sorts of shit. Do you know what I mean?
But what we're doing as well, Jack, I don't know if you've seen it, but we're not going to choose who fights who. That poll. So every Wednesday we're going to put a poll. Not me, the team. They're going to put the team put the poll up on YouTube of who they want to see fight who. So obviously they can match up the fights, and we're going to go with a majority decision, because what we're saying is, if I choose who fights who, or we do it in house, people can say you fix that fight for him to win, and we're saying, no, let's make it fair. You choose who fights who. The YouTube community and that. And obviously the viewers are going to come in. They'll choose who fights who. And we're not going to change the majority decision. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because the way we're looking at it is they're all matched at similar kind of weights. They're all getting treated fair. They're all in the right training camp. They're not getting trained. They're not getting no special treatment in there. So for me, they're all even. So they can choose who fights who. They're all up and they're all ready. Do you know what I mean? It's just down for the fighters on the day to perform, and I think there'll be a lot of surprise in there, because I think that the people that the YouTube community think aren't going to be pulled through might pull through, and you're going to, a lot of hearts are going to be tested, because when the fight at the end as well, when they all fight, it's 1 9-minute round, so it's last man standing, so there's no break. They go for 9 minutes, 9 minute time cap. they'll get a 20-second count. If it goes to the judge's decision, then obviously it's down to the judge's decision if they get to the 9 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a fucking long. But that's kind of like have you ever watched Pride back in the day?
I have, yeah.
That's what they did, didn't they? The first round was a 10-minute round, and then the next round I think was a 5-minute round or something like that. So most of the fights didn't get out past the 10-minute round, though, did they? To be honest.
But I think that what we'll do is, and obviously when the finalists get onto an actual platform, they'll have to fight under the platform rules, the platform that they're on, whether it's going to be 6-2s, 3-2s, 4-2s, however they're going to do it. And I think that you've got to remember that because they're going to be in camp. You know, they're going to get the best treatment that an athlete can get, really. Do you know what I mean? And they're going to get fed the best. They've got all the supplements. They've got everything. So I think it's going to be a big shock for the fighters as well to be treated like that. And if they do leave the contender, they go on to do good things in bare knuckle boxing. At least they know what it's like to be a fighter and live like a fighter. They know how to discipline themselves because they've been through it. Do you know what I mean? So
that sounds good. That sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more looking forward to it in terms of, I want to just see, like, I can't say who favourites are and stuff like that on the show because it's hard for me because it's me dealing with each fight and they're all good lads. You know, every one of them are good lads. And I think that we've got, you got Marcus Pond. I think he's had 10 fights in the pits down for Spartan, down in Plymouth.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
That's good.
The only thing we've got with Marcus is he's probably had a few more fights than a few of the other lads, but obviously he has to boil down his weight, so that'll have a big impact. You know, he's going to have to boil down. I think he's sitting at 80 kilos now, but he's going to have to get down to 75.
He's got to lose weight. Yeah,
he's got to get the weight down, so that might have an effect. But then you've got the likes of, like, say, you got Stuart Anderson, you got a guy called Ben Lucraft, you got a few good lads in there, and I just say I've got utmost respect for him, and I don't have no better enjoyment than going out talking with him every day and having a crack with him.
Of course.
I'm actually fond of him, and it's just good to see the way that they liaise with each other. They're having a crack on the WhatsApp group, and it's good to see that when they go in the house and that. I mean, the tensions are going to get a bit high when they decide who they're fighting each other, but that brings the drama for the viewers, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it's all about, isn't it? So, I was going to say, have you got any fights coming up? I see something about you might be fighting again soon, or is that bullshit?
The only fight I would, if I do want to fight, to be honest, mate, I'd love the rematch. I'd love the rematch with Decker on, but I'd only want the rematch in terms of respect. And I won't want the rematch carrying all the negative energy. I mean, Decker agreed that, I've done a video like last week for it, and and like you're saying, if the fight does go ahead, it's the only really fight I want to have just because I've been in there before. I know what I'm up against. I know what I need to do, but I don't want to take the fight under animosity and trolling and anything like that. I just want to take the fight where both of us have trained hard. We turn up and we have it. That's if it happens, Jack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, but apart from that, to be honest, my days of actual going out, they're all. I mean, I'm 39 years of age, so my best days are behind me now. But I have enjoyment of watching young talent coming through. Watching fighters out there. Like, I love watching the BKFC. I love watching news guys. And do you know what I mean? I have enjoyment doing that and putting this show together. I'm enjoying. I know it's the show side of it, but I can't wait to fight day and that because there's no better feeling when you sat there with the lads putting the wraps on and they're having a good crack. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's it, mate. That's good. That's good.
I say that's pretty much it. My best days are behind me. I mean, if I had the time to dedicate myself in terms of, because obviously I work as well, scaffolding. I've got my company business there, and and if I had the time to dedicate myself the way I could do when I was younger and stuff like that, I'd love to be on the actual circuit, but I just don't have that dedication and that time. Do you know what I mean? To be honest.
Yeah, of course. It is hard, mate. It is hard, especially fucking, like I said, trying to work as well and train full time. It's just,
and that's
it is hard work.
You guys, man. I take me off to you guys because you got to do your early mornings after work, and it's not easy, is it? Do you know what I mean? It's not easy at all.
No, well, that's why I've gone to working part time now, so I can have a proper crack at trying to train full time. Do you know what I mean? So I only work on the weekends now, but obviously, but the problem is. Go
on, Jack. I was saying
I was saying that.
Sorry, mate. I was they're saying the thing is as well now, the bare knuckle circuit that you're on now, it's evolved a lot over the past 10 years to where it is now. So you've got to be on your A game now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you have. Yeah, it's elite
You've got,
fighters, mate. It ain't idiots, is it? Do you know what I mean? These are
Yeah.
top fighters, ex pros, ex UFC fighters, and don't get me wrong. As much as it's an opportunity for us lads who have not made a name for ourselves in all these other sports to make a name for ourselves, but at the same time, like you said, we're fighting top blokes, and now we've got to train the way they would. But the difference is where they've made names in these other organisations, they've got the money, they've got the sponsors, they've got all the stuff behind and backing them to be able to train the way they should. But all us young and people that don't know us, we've still got to go to work. We've still got to do all the other bits and pieces that we've got to do and to get to where we've got to get. But that's the fight game, isn't it, at the end of the day?
I mean, yeah, do you know, I think that, do you know, if you look at, like you're saying, you know, what he's tending to find as well, Carl Froch, I don't know if you watch Carl Froch, he was one of my idols, Carl Froch, you know, in the boxing. I used to watch him, and he's got his own podcast. And he gave an opinion the other day on bare knuckle boxing, and Carl summed it up. He said bare knuckle boxing is what you'd find is a lot of ex pros that didn't make it, or a lot of MMA fighters. He said so that's why the levels in bare knuckle boxing's gone through the roof.
Yeah.
And if you look at like the BKFC, obviously you're with BKFC.
Yeah.
All the American fighters now, they're all like MMA stars, but they wasn't average MMA stars. They were like elite MMA star fighters. That's you need to be on your A game, and I think that. I mean, it's going to be a long time before us as Brits over here get a fair crack of the whip against the Americans in the BKFC or bare knuckle boxing. It'll be, in terms of getting paid the right money and stuff, it'll be a while yet, because we always get like the rough end of the stick first, don't we? But I do believe when it comes to bare knuckle boxing, I still believe that we breed the best in the UK. Myself.
100%, 100%, mate. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I do believe that.
But yeah, mate. Well, say we've been chatting now just over 50 minutes.
Yeah,
fucking hell.
I cut off. It must be where I am, but it just cut off there. But like you're saying, Jack, you know, there'd be a lot. Just to let you know, there'd be a lot of content going up over the like 4 weeks with the stuff. We're not behind schedule or anything like that. I've just got to get all the teething problems right first before we, you know, start putting stuff out there. And I hope you enjoy the show, mate. To be honest.
Yeah, well, mate, I'll 100% be tuning into it. Like I say, I've subscribed to you anyway, and yeah, so I'll keep an eye out for all the stuff that's up and coming. Obviously, I see it on the Instagram and whatnot as well, mate. So yeah, so we'll all keep an eye out for it. I'm pretty sure, mate. You know, reading all these comments, people have got nothing bad to say. Everyone's like, they're really happy to see how you've gone from all the videos that they saw last year to how you are now, and seeing that you're doing really well for yourself. So it looks like you've got a really lot of support behind you here as well, mate. So yeah, I think a lot of people look forward to it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jack. And if I can do anything for myself, for you in any way at all, just give us a shout, mate. You know, you've always been apart from that call out last year when I called you out, mate, you've been all right with me.
Yeah, nice one, Dave. Cheers, mate. But yeah, thank you for coming on, though, brother. It's been good chatting with you, and well, I'm sure we'll stay in touch soon, anyway.
All right, mate. Cheers, bud.
Nice one. Cheers, Dave.
Yeah, mate.
See you soon, mate.
Bye. See you soon. Bye.
Well, guys, thank you for everyone for tuning in. So it was another good little interview there. It was nice to hear all that kind of story to Dean. I mean, it was my missus said to me, she was like, "You need to interview Dean. There's a story. He's got a story behind him that he's been through something." She kept saying to me, "He's been through something," and obviously him talking about his little brother passing away and stuff like that. So just goes to show you don't always know someone like you think you know him. Do you know what I mean? But thank you for everyone tuning in. And yeah, let me know in the comments and stuff below who you think I should try and get hold of next, who I should try and do a little interview with. Yeah, like I said, thank you for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you all very soon.